Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
All right, guys, we're back for more. Today we're starting part 14 of 30 in my Blue Collar Leadership Leading from the Frontline series based on my best-selling book, Blue Collar Leadership. So today I want to share with you this chapter. What inspired this chapter was when I read a book by John Maxwell called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It seemed like maybe that was 2010 when I read that book. And 2015, I believe, is when I wrote, 2016 is when I wrote Blue Collar Leadership. So 6 years after being inspired and learning the principle that I'm sharing with you in this chapter, I wrote the book and put it in this chapter and wanted to dedicate a small piece of this book to this because I think it's very critical. And what the law I'm speaking of that I learned, it's called John calls it the law of magnetism. Who you are is who you attract. And this chapter 14, is titled, You Attract Who You Are. Because those who like you the most are the most like you. So think about that. Those who like you the most are the most like you. So as you're learning all the stuff I teach on my podcast and in my books, I want you to look out the window and start evaluating those people that you hang around with the most by choice and see how are they doing in life relative to all the things you may be learning as you dig deeper into the personal growth and development and leadership development content that I share, and maybe you're reading other people's stuff too. Look out and see how are those around you doing, because however they're doing is most likely how you're doing, whether you realize it or not. That's just the way it works. Who you are is who you attract, and you attract who you are. Same thing, right? So a Harvard social psychologist, Dr. David McClellan, he had this to say. He says, the people with whom you habitually associate are called your reference group. And these people determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. So these are the people you associate with by choice. They determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life, because who they are is who you are. If you want to hang around better people, guess what you got to do? You got to become a better person. And that's always relative. It doesn't matter what level you're at in your development. If you want to hang around with better people, that means someone who is at a higher level than you relative to character. You've got to grow and develop your character in order to attract those people. Because criminals don't hang out with people who obey the law. People who are habitual liars don't hang around with people who always tell the truth. You see where I'm going with that? Who we are is who we attract. And I love this quote by Dr. Henry Cloud. He says, one of the most expensive things you could ever do is pay attention to the wrong people. Think about that. One of the most expensive things you could ever do is pay attention to the wrong people. That's very, very expensive. If you're not where you want to be right now, I'm telling you this. It's just leadership truth. Remember, I love you. I don't know who you are, but I ain't here to offend you. But if you're not where you want to be, I can promise you, one of the things holding you back is you're paying attention to the wrong people. That's just a fact. That's a principle. That's the way it works. You may be getting your advice from the wrong people. You may be accepting influence from the wrong people, like I was for a lot of years. And I also got bad advice. I saw bad role models. Everything to do with what I was, before I started reading and developing myself and learning from people who were at a higher level than me, was based on all the people that I hung around. And guess what? I was hanging around people like me. That's the way it works. One of the best ways to hang around with people who are ahead of you is to listen to their audios, listen to their audio books, their podcasts, videos, read their books, because those people probably don't want to hang out with you. I guarantee you, when I started reading this stuff, the people I was learning from and studying with, they wouldn't want to spend 5 minutes with the person I was, except they wrote what they knew and they shared their experiences in books. So I still could associate with them without associating with them. You with me? You may be listening to this podcast and you and I never talk. I may never meet you, but I'm here to share stuff with you. And I don't know who you are. Again, I'm here to help people. But I guarantee you there's people who listen to my stuff and read my books that I wouldn't want to hang out with you. You may do things that I don't value, and that's okay. I still want to help you. That doesn't mean I would want to hang out with you if I actually knew you. But that's what I used to do. I made that mistake of only associating with the people that I actually knew. Then I discovered leadership books, personal growth and development books, and figured out I could hang out with these people without hanging out with these people. So I'm going to say that quote again by Dr. Henry Cloud. And I learned it from reading one of his books. I don't know him. I've never met him. I may not ever meet him. And even then, I may not like who he is as a person. I may not want to hang out with him, but I'll take his principles from his books and I'll learn from him and apply it in my life. And I decide where I'm going. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. But again, his quote was, one of the most expensive things you could ever do is pay attention to the wrong people. So see, there's a lot of talk about it. If you get to reading this stuff, you'll hear about it from somewhere, from somebody, but there's different versions of it. But basically it goes something like this. It says, we become the average of the 5 people we voluntarily hang around the most. And it's true. The 5 people we voluntarily hang around with, we start talking like they talk, acting like they act, dressing like they dress, eating what they eat, drinking what they drink, doing what they do. And most importantly, we begin to think like they think. That's a big deal. That's a big problem too if you're trying to move forward. And we start to believe what they believe. And ultimately, we get the results that they're getting, relatively speaking. And that again, if you listen to the last episode, part 13 of this series, it was all about courage. And in that episode, that's what I was talking about. That was part of what was one of the most courageous things I had to do, was learn to go stand alone, be by myself while I become the person I wanted to be. I had to stop hanging around with these 5 people I used to hang around with. Just like today, and I'm talking about when I was in my early 20s. I'm 49. I'm going to be 50 in 2019. But I can tell you, it's 2018 now. You go back 10 years, 2008, when I discovered leadership development books and personal growth books, and I started reading this stuff, I started separating myself again. And I had been doing it for some time. As I would grow, I was separating myself from some people and attracting higher level people. Again, I'm talking about relative to character development. And I can tell you today, there's nobody that I hung around with in 2008 that I hang around with today, because my values have completely changed. And I can tell you this, I don't talk like they talk anymore. I don't act like they act anymore. I don't believe what they believe anymore. And I don't think like they think anymore. You with me? Wherever you want to go, relative to professionally at work or personally at home, you're going to attract into your life the people that you're supposed to attract. And you're going to repel the people that you're supposed to repel. So I'll leave you with a quote by John Maxwell today. He said, in the end, you may not be able to change the people around you, but you can change the people you choose to be around. That's what I'm talking about. Say it one more time. In the end, you may not be able to change the people around you, but you can change the people you choose to be around. And one more quote from a friend of mine in Australia, Mr. Tony Curl. I remember reading this on his Facebook or LinkedIn profile. He shares a lot of quotes and memes like I do, and I come across this, something he had written, and I captured it and put it in my quote file, and I want to share it with you today. And Tony says, when you compromise who you are, you compromise who you attract. So I'm going to leave you with that thought today. When you compromise who you are, you compromise who you attract. And I'm telling you this, who you're able to attract in your life is going to have a lot to do with what you get out of life. You've heard me say this a lot before. It's not about me, but it starts with me. It's not about you, but it starts with you. You want to change what's going on the outside, you got to transform what's going on the inside. So I hope you have a great day. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.